The UES Harmony drifted through space toward the massive station ahead. Colonel Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, watching the structure grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was unlike anything humanity had ever built. The station stretched for kilometers, its silver surface covered in strange symbols and glowing patterns. "First time seeing alien architecture, Colonel?" Ambassador Marcus Webb asked as he joined her at the viewing window. "Yes, sir," Sarah replied. "It's bigger than I expected." The ambassador nodded. "The Galactic Council represents 12 different species. This station has been their meeting place for over 1,000 years." Sarah looked at the 20 soldiers under her command. They stood at attention in their dress uniforms, weapons secured but ready. These were Earth's best, volunteers who had trained for 3 years for this moment. Private Jackson, barely 21, tried to hide his nervousness. Sergeant Rodriguez checked his equipment for the 10th time. "Remember," the ambassador said to everyone, "we're here to make friends. This is humanity's chance to join something bigger than ourselves." The communication system crackled to life. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Follow the guidance beacons." Captain Brooks, the ship's commander, guided the Harmony into the docking bay. Through the windows, they could see alien workers moving around. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others had 4 or 6 limbs. A few floated in the air without any visible means of support. "Atmosphere is breathable," the ship's science officer reported. "Gravity is about 80% of Earth normal." The docking process took an hour. When it was complete, Captain Brooks turned to the ambassador. "We're secure, sir. The airlock is pressurized and ready." Ambassador Webb straightened his formal diplomatic robes. "Colonel Chen, have your people form an honor guard. Let's make a good first impression." Sarah organized her soldiers into 2 neat lines. They would escort the ambassador to the formal welcome ceremony. Each soldier carried a ceremonial rifle, functional but clearly for show rather than combat. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The air that flowed in smelled different, cleaner somehow, with a faint metallic taste. The group walked through a long corridor with walls that seemed to pulse with their own light. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Martinez, the mission's xenobiologist. "The materials are completely unknown to us." They entered a vast chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. Sarah had studied pictures of the council species, but seeing them in person was different. The Vorthak looked like upright lizards with gleaming scales. The crystalline Kethvar caught and reflected light in rainbow patterns. The Zelani moved like flowing water despite having solid bodies. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform where 12 beings waited. These were the council members, the most powerful individuals in known space. "Greetings," said the center figure, a tall Vorthak with golden scales. "I am High Counselor Thekvar. We welcome the humans to Nexus Prime." Ambassador Webb stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you, High Counselor. I am Ambassador Marcus Webb, representing Earth and all humanity. We are honored to be here." Sarah noticed something wrong immediately. The other aliens in the chamber were watching them with expressions she didn't like. Not curiosity or welcome, but something closer to hunger. Her soldiers sensed it too. She could see them becoming more alert. "Your species is young," High Counselor Thekvar continued. "Tell us, how long have you had space travel?" "We achieved faster than light travel 12 years ago," the ambassador replied. "Before that, we had been exploring our solar system for over a century." Several council members made sounds that might have been laughter. 12 years, repeated one of the crystalline Kethvar. "How primitive," Sarah's jaw tightened. The tone was clearly insulting, but the ambassador remained diplomatic. "We know we have much to learn," Webb said. "That's why we're here. Earth wishes to contribute to galactic civilization." "Contribute?" The Vorthak commander standing near the platform stepped forward. His uniform was military, and Sarah could see weapons on his belt. "What could a species so young possibly contribute? We have resources, new perspectives, and a strong desire for peaceful cooperation," the ambassador replied. Commander Sisek, Sarah recognized him from the briefing files, moved closer to their group. His movements were predatory, like a snake preparing to strike. "Resources, yes. We are aware of your world's potential." Other security forces began moving around the chamber. Sarah counted at least 50 armed aliens, all wearing the same military insignia as Commander Sek. This was supposed to be a diplomatic ceremony, but it felt more like a trap. Perhaps, Commander Sisek continued. We should test human capabilities, see if your soldiers are as primitive as your technology. The comment was clearly meant to provoke a response. Sarah kept her expression neutral, but her hand moved slightly closer to her sidearm. Her soldiers remained at attention, but she could feel their tension. I'm sure that won't be necessary, Ambassador Webb said quickly. We come in peace. Peace, Commander Sisek repeated the word like it tasted bad. Yes, humans always speak of peace. But what happens when peace is not offered in return? Without warning, one of the Council's security forces raised a weapon, an energy rifle of some kind. The alien aimed it directly at Ambassador Webb and fired. The energy bolt would have killed the ambassador instantly, but Private Jackson reacted on pure instinct. The young soldier threw himself forward, knocking Webb to the ground just as the deadly beam passed through the space where the ambassador's head had been. Assault! Commander Sisek roared. The humans attack! It was a lie, and everyone in the chamber knew it. But suddenly dozens of energy weapons were pointing at the human delegation. Sarah's training took over. Defensive positions, she shouted even as she drew her sidearm. Her soldiers responded instantly, forming a protective circle around the ambassador and the other diplomats. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they were Earth's best. The first energy bolts came from all directions. Sergeant Rodriguez cried out as a beam burned across his shoulder, but he kept firing. Private Jackson, still covering the ambassador, returned fire with deadly accuracy. His shots dropped 2 Vorthak soldiers before more energy beams found him. Sarah saw Jackson fall and felt rage building in her chest. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. These aliens had planned this from the beginning. Cover the diplomats, she ordered, firing at Commander Sisek. Her bullet struck his armor but didn't penetrate. The alien weapons were more advanced, but human projectile weapons still worked. The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. Private Kelly took an energy bolt to the chest and went down. Corporal Adams fought with a broken arm after falling behind an overturned table. The humans were vastly outnumbered, but they fought with a determination that clearly surprised their attackers. When the energy restraint nets finally wrapped around the surviving soldiers, 5 humans were dead and 7 were wounded. Sarah struggled against the alien bonds as Commander Sek approached. Primitive, he said, looking down at her, but more dangerous than expected. We will learn much from studying you. Ambassador Webb, blood running from a cut on his forehead, tried to speak. This is an act of war. Earth will not ignore this attack. High Counselor Thekvar laughed. Earth is one small world. We are the Council. Your species will serve us or you will be eliminated. As the surviving humans were dragged away, Sarah caught sight of Dr. Martinez being separated from the group. The aliens seemed very interested in the scientists. Whatever they planned, it wasn't going to be pleasant. The last thing Sarah saw before being thrown into a detention cell was Commander Sek speaking into a communication device. Begin Phase 2. The humans are more capable than predicted, but still manageable. Prepare the research facilities. Earth's first contact with galactic civilization had become humanity's first interstellar war, and the galaxy had no idea what it had just awakened. Colonel Sarah Chen hung from metal restraints in a room that hurt to look at. The walls shifted colors constantly, creating patterns that made her eyes water and her head pound. She had been here for 6 days, though time was hard to track when the lights never stayed the same. The door opened with a sound like breaking glass. Dr. Zyloth entered, followed by 2 Vorthak guards. The Kethvar scientist was a living crystal formation. Roughly humanoid but constantly shifting between different shapes, light passed through his body in ways that defied human understanding. Good morning, Colonel Chen, Dr. Zyloth said in perfect English. His voice sounded like wind chimes. How are you feeling today? Sarah said nothing. She had learned not to respond to the alien's false politeness. Her silence only seemed to amuse him. Still resistant. Fascinating. Dr. Zyloth moved closer, and Sarah could see data scrolling across his crystalline face. Your species continues to surprise us. Any other creature would have broken by now. The Kethvar gestured to one of the guards, who activated a device on the wall. Immediately, Sarah's body convulsed as electricity ran through the restraints. The pain was incredible, designed to affect multiple nervous systems at once. It should have knocked her unconscious. Instead, she gritted her teeth and endured it. Remarkable, Dr. Zyloth observed, studying his instruments. Heart rate elevated but stable. Brain activity shows stress but no breakdown. How do you tolerate pain that would kill most council species? Sarah focused on her training. The interrogation resistance courses had been brutal, but this was worse. The aliens weren't just trying to break her mind, they were studying how human bodies worked under extreme conditions. "Let me show you something interesting," Dr. Zeloth said, activating a wall screen. The image showed another cell where Private Rodriguez was strapped to a table. The young soldier had 3 broken ribs and severe cuts across his arms and chest, but his eyes were still alert and defiant. "Your subordinate has been injured for 4 days. Any council species would be unconscious or dead. Yet observe." The doctor touched a control and Sarah watched Rodriguez attempt to free himself from his restraints. Despite his injuries, the private moved with deadly efficiency, nearly escaping before guards stopped him. "He should be incapacitated," Dr. Zeloth continued. "The pain alone should have shut down his higher brain functions. Instead, he remains combat effective." How? Sarah knew the answer, but she wasn't going to explain human biology to her captors. Humans had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. They had redundant organs, faster healing, and pain tolerance that other species couldn't understand. Earth was a death world, and it had created a species designed to survive anything. "Your silence is noted," the doctor said, "but we have other sources of information." The screen changed to show Dr. Martinez in what looked like a medical facility. The xenobiologist was conscious but restrained, while alien medical devices scanned his body. Sarah could see the fear in his eyes, but also determination. Even the scientists weren't breaking. "Dr. Martinez has been very helpful," Dr. Zeloth lied. "He has explained much about human physiology. Did you know that your species has twice as many redundant organ systems as any other known life form? And your cellular repair mechanisms operate at nearly 3 times normal galactic standards?" Sarah remained silent, but she was learning valuable information. The aliens were clearly surprised by human capabilities. They had expected Earth's people to be weak and easily controlled. "We have also tested your psychological resilience," the Kethvar continued. "Observe." The screen showed corporal atoms in a different type of cell. The walls displayed images of Earth being destroyed, of human cities burning, of children being killed. The psychological warfare was designed to break the human spirit by showing him everything he was fighting to protect being annihilated. Adams sat in the center of the room, his back straight, his expression calm. He wasn't even looking at the screens. 48 hours of targeted psychological pressure, Dr. Zeloth said with what might have been frustration. "Images selected specifically to cause maximum emotional trauma. Your Corporal Adams has not responded at all. It is as if he simply turns off the part of his mind that would feel despair." That was exactly what Adams was doing. Military training taught soldiers to compartmentalize, to function under psychological pressure that would destroy civilians. But humans took it further than other species because they had to. Earth's environment had been teaching that lesson for millions of years. "Most interesting of all," the doctor continued, "is your pack loyalty. Watch this." The screen split to show multiple cells. In each one, a human prisoner was being tortured, while sounds from the other cells were played through speakers. Sarah could hear Rodriguez screaming, Adams shouting defiance, Dr. Martinez trying to reason with his captors. But none of them broke. None of them gave up information that might help the aliens hurt their companions. Each human endured their own suffering while listening to their friends being tortured, and somehow found the strength to resist even harder. In 96% of known species, Dr. Zeloth explained, hearing pack members in distress causes immediate psychological breakdown. The subjects either become catatonic or reveal everything they know to make the suffering stop. Humans show the opposite response. Hearing their companions in pain makes them more resistant, not less. Sarah understood why this confused the aliens. Most pack species protected each other by submission. They would surrender to save their family. Humans protected each other through defiance. The more the enemy hurt one human, the harder the others would fight. Your Ambassador Webb remains in diplomatic quarters, the doctor added, changing the subject. He continues to demand your release and threatens consequences. Quite amusing, really. What can one primitive world do against the Council? That question worried Sarah more than the torture. These aliens clearly thought Earth was helpless. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when threatened. I will ask you one final time, Dr. Zeloth said, moving close enough that Sarah could feel the unnatural cold radiating from his crystalline body. Tell us about Earth's military capabilities. How many ships? What weapons? How many soldiers? Sarah looked directly into the alien's faceted eyes. Go to hell. The Kethvar made a sound like breaking crystal that might have been laughter. Hell, yes, we have learned this human concept. A place of eternal punishment and suffering. How appropriate. He gestured to the guards, who activated more torture devices. Pain flooded through Sarah's body from multiple sources. Electricity, sonic pressure, neural disruptors designed for a dozen different species. It should have killed her. Instead, she endured it and began planning her escape. Remarkable, Dr. Zyloth observed as he watched her vital signs. Heart rate stable. Brain activity shows adaptation to pain stimuli. Muscle tension indicates she is actually analyzing her situation for tactical advantages. The doctor turned to his guards. Increase security on all human prisoners. And send a message to command. Recommend immediate contact with Earth. These creatures are far more dangerous than our initial assessment indicated. What should we tell them about the humans? One guard asked. Dr. Zyloth looked back at Sarah, who was still conscious and still defiant despite torture that should have broken her mind and body. Tell them we may have made a serious mistake. As the aliens left, Sarah hung in her restraints and smiled for the first time in days. They were afraid. The mighty Galactic Council was starting to realize that they had attacked the wrong species. Now she just had to survive long enough for Earth to find them. And knowing her people, that wouldn't take long. Humans were very good at tracking down those who hurt their family. The galaxy was about to learn that lesson the hard way. Fleet Admiral Catherine Morrison stared at the holographic display in the Pentagon's deepest briefing room. The images were grainy and distorted, transmitted through channels the Galactic Council didn't know existed. But they were clear enough to show the truth. Play it again, she ordered. The recording began once more. Hidden cameras and Ambassador Webb's diplomatic equipment had captured everything. The unprovoked attack, the murder of human soldiers, the lies about assault. Admiral Morrison watched Private Jackson die trying to protect the ambassador. She watched her people being dragged away like animals. How many confirmed casualties? She asked. General Robert Hayes, head of Terran ground forces, consulted his tablet. 5 dead, 7 wounded and captured. Ambassador Webb and his staff are being held in what they call diplomatic quarters, but are essentially prison cells. And Dr. Martinez? Separated from the others. Intelligence suggests he's being used for biological experiments. Admiral Morrison felt cold anger building in her chest. She had known this day might come. Earth's first contact protocols had always included worst-case scenarios. But seeing it happen was different from planning for it. What's the status of the civilian government? She asked. President Chen called an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council. She's also activated the Global Defense Initiative protocols. That was Sarah Chen's sister, Admiral Morrison realized. The president's twin sister was currently being tortured by aliens, and the leader of the free world was trying to decide how to respond. The president wants to see the full tactical assessment, General Hayes continued. All of it. Admiral Morrison nodded. It was time to reveal secrets that had been hidden for 50 years. Bring up Project Damocles. The holographic display changed to show the Sol system. But instead of the peaceful space most people imagined, the image revealed the truth. Massive railgun platforms hidden in asteroid fields, weapon satellites disguised as communication relays, ship construction facilities built inside hollowed-out moons. Jesus, whispered Colonel Park, the youngest officer in the room. How long has this been going on? Since 1995, Admiral Morrison replied. The year we detected the first faster-than-light signatures from outside the system. We knew someone was out there and we decided to be ready for the worst. She gestured and the display zoomed in on Luna. What looked like mining operations were actually military shipyards. Hundreds of vessels had been built in secret over 5 decades, designed for one purpose: war. The Galactic Council thinks we have 1 exploration ship and a handful of system patrol craft, General Hayes explained. They have no idea about the real fleet. How many ships? Colonel Park asked. 843 combat vessels, Admiral Morrison said, ranging from frigates to dreadnoughts. All built with one question in mind. How do you fight an enemy with superior technology? The answer had been simple: you cheat. Human ships were designed to push their systems beyond safe parameters. Human weapons were built to hit harder than anyone expected. Human tactics assumed they would be outnumbered and outgunned. Phase generators? General Hayes asked, fully operational. 12 ships can achieve total invisibility for up to 6 hours, enough for infiltration and reconnaissance. The phase technology had been humanity's greatest secret. While other species built energy shields, humans had learned to shift partially out of normal space. It was dangerous. Phase failure meant instant death, but it made human ships effectively invisible. Weapon status: all railgun platforms are charged and targeted. The Luna array alone can put a tungsten rod through anything in Earth orbit. The Jupiter platforms can hit targets 8 light hours away. Admiral Morrison pulled up another display showing weapon specifications. Human kinetic weapons were considered primitive by galactic standards, but they had advantages. They were impossible to jam, left no energy signature, and hit with the force of nuclear weapons when fired at relativistic speeds. "What about the Prometheus drive?" Colonel Park asked. That was the most classified project of all. While the Council used conventional faster-than-light travel, humans had developed something different. The Prometheus drive could move a ship instantly across vast distances, but only once before burning out completely. It was a one-way ticket, designed for desperate situations. 16 ships are equipped with Prometheus drives, Admiral Morrison confirmed. Enough to put strike teams anywhere in Council space. General Hayes activated his communication device. "Patch me through to President Chen." The president's face appeared on the screen. Maria Chen looked tired, but her eyes held the same determination Admiral Morrison had seen in her sister. "Admiral Morrison," the president said, "I've read your preliminary report. How bad is it?" "Bad enough, Madam President." The Council never intended peaceful contact. This was a setup from the beginning. They wanted to test our capabilities and take prisoners for study. And our response options? Admiral Morrison took a deep breath. "We can have a strike force at their position in 6 hours. Full stealth insertion, extract our people, and withdraw before they know we're there." "That's the minimum response," General Hayes added. "But Admiral, they murdered our soldiers. They're torturing our people. This is an act of war." President Chen was quiet for a long moment. What would full retaliation look like? "Complete destruction of their space station and any ships in the area," Admiral Morrison replied. "We send a message that attacking Earth has consequences. And after that, they'll come for us with everything they have. The entire Galactic Council fleet. Can we win?" Admiral Morrison looked at the tactical displays showing humanity's hidden strength. 5 decades of preparation, built on the assumption that the universe was hostile. "Yes, Madam President. We can win." President Chen closed her eyes. When she opened them, her expression was resolute. "My sister is in that station. Our people are being tortured by aliens who think we're primitive. What are your recommendations?" "I recommend we show them exactly how wrong they are," Admiral Morrison said. "But first we extract our people. Then we decide how much of the Council fleet we want to leave intact." "Approved. Launch the rescue mission immediately." "And, Admiral?" "Yes, Madam President. Make sure they understand that Earth protects its own." Admiral Morrison smiled grimly. "Copy that, Madam President. Earth protects its own." 20 minutes later, alarms began sounding at hidden bases across the solar system. The Terran Defense Fleet, mankind's greatest secret, began powering up for its first combat mission. Ships that had never been seen by civilian eyes prepared to jump to interstellar space. In the asteroid belt, railgun platforms swiveled toward jump coordinates. On Luna, weapons that could crack planets charged their capacitors. Throughout the system, humanity's children prepared to remind the galaxy why Earth was considered a death world. The Galactic Council had made one crucial mistake. They had attacked a species that had spent millions of years learning to survive against impossible odds. Now they were about to discover what humans did to threats against their family. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center as the first ships disappeared into faster-than-light space. The Council thought they were dealing with primitives. They were about to learn they had declared war on the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, and Earth's children were coming home. The UES Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Council space. Captain Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the sleek frigate, watching the sensor displays show dozens of alien ships in the distance. Nexus Prime was barely visible as a bright dot against the stars. "All stop," she ordered. "Communications. Open a channel on all Council frequencies." "Channel open, Captain." Captain Park took a breath. This message would be heard across the galaxy, and every word mattered. "Attention, Galactic Council. This is Captain Lisa Park of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have 72 hours to release all human prisoners unharmed. This is your only warning. After that time expires, you will face the consequences of attacking Earth's children. She gestured to her communications officer. Send it on repeat, all languages. Lieutenant Commander James Wright, her first officer, checked his tactical display. Council ships are moving to intercept. Looks like a full battle squadron. 12 heavy cruisers and a dreadnought. Let them come, Captain Park said calmly. Helm, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to demonstrate. The Retribution was one of Earth's newest ships, built with everything humanity had learned about alien technology. But more importantly, it was crewed by humans who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. It's from the Council flagship. Put it through. Commander Sussex's reptilian face appeared on the main screen. The Vorthax scales were darker than usual, a sign of anger in his species. Human vessel, he hissed. You dare threaten the Galactic Council? Your pathetic ship against our entire fleet? Captain Park smiled. Not threatening, Commander. Warning, there's a difference. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. I don't think so, Captain Park replied. But you're welcome to try. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. All right, people. Time to show them what Earth's children can do. Helm, take us in. The Retribution accelerated toward the Council fleet at a speed that should have been impossible for a ship its size. The alien ships moved to intercept, but their formations were predictable. They thought like a superior force engaging primitives. Enemy ships firing, Lieutenant Wright reported. Energy weapons, standard Council specifications. Evasive pattern Delta, Captain Park ordered. The human ship twisted through space in ways that defied conventional tactics. Where Council ships moved in straight lines and gentle curves, the Retribution danced. It spun on multiple axes while maintaining forward momentum, making it nearly impossible to target. Energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space as the frigate seemed to teleport from one position to another. The human ship was using micro-jumps, tiny, faster-than-light hops that lasted only milliseconds but moved at hundreds of kilometers instantly. How are they doing that? Commander Sussek demanded on his bridge. Ships cannot jump so frequently without burning out their drives. His tactical officer, a floating Zilani, studied the sensor readings. Unknown, Commander. The human ship appears to be using a completely different type of faster-than-light system. On the Retribution, Captain Park watched the Council ships struggle to keep up. Take us through the Kepler system, she ordered. Let's see how they handle real flying. The frigate jumped to a nearby star system where 3 gas giants orbited close to each other. The gravitational fields were treacherous with tidal forces that could tear apart most ships. But the Retribution flew through them like they were empty space. Pilot training on Jupiter paid off, Lieutenant Wright observed as they skimmed the atmosphere of a gas giant, using its gravity to slingshot around at impossible speeds. The Council ships followed, but they were struggling. Their hulls groaned under gravitational stress that the human ship handled easily. 2 of the alien cruisers had to drop back when their structural integrity warnings activated. Take us into the asteroid. Field, Captain Park ordered. The Retribution dove into a dense field of spinning rocks and debris. The ship moved between asteroids with centimeters to spare, threading paths that would have been impossible for larger vessels. But it wasn't just about size. It was about the pilot. Lieutenant Sarah Kim had been born on Luna and trained in Earth's crushing gravity. She could handle accelerations that would knock most aliens unconscious. Her reflexes were faster, her spatial awareness better, and she understood 3-dimensional movement in ways that other species couldn't match. The Council ships tried to follow, but quickly found themselves in trouble. 2 cruisers collided with asteroids while trying to maintain pursuit. Another had to reverse course when it became trapped between 2 large rocks. Impossible, Commander Sussek snarled. No ship can maneuver like that. Perhaps, his tactical officer suggested, the humans are not as primitive as we believed. The Retribution led the remaining Council ships on a chase through 3 star systems. At each stop, the human vessel demonstrated capabilities that shouldn't exist. It flew through solar storms that disabled alien sensors. It used gravitational anomalies as weapons, causing pursuing ships to be pulled off course. It performed maneuvers that should have killed its crew but somehow didn't. Finally, the Council ships cornered the Retribution near a dead moon. 12 ships surrounded the human frigate, all weapons trained on its hull. "Surrender now," Commander Sisek transmitted, "or we will destroy you." Captain Park looked at her crew. They were all smiling. "Phase generator?" "Charged and ready, Captain." "Activate." The Retribution simply vanished. One moment it was surrounded by Council ships, the next it had disappeared completely. Sensors showed nothing. Visual confirmation showed empty space. Where did it go? Commander Sek demanded. "Unknown, sir. No faster than light signature. No energy discharge. The ship is simply gone." The human frigate reappeared directly behind the Council flagship, close enough that its hull was visible through the viewing ports. Every alien on the bridge jumped in surprise. "Attention, Council fleet," Captain Park transmitted. "You have 71 hours remaining. Next time we won't run." The Retribution vanished again, this time for good. The Council ship searched for hours but found nothing. On Nexus Prime, emergency meetings were called across all 12 Council species. Dr. Zeloth presented his findings about human physiology, while military commanders reported on the encounter with the human ship. "They possess technology we don't understand," Admiral Kethlon reported. "Faster-than-light systems that operate on completely different principles. Pilots who can survive accelerations that would kill our crews. Ships that can become completely invisible." High Counselor Thekvar studied the reports with growing concern. "How is this possible?" "Our intelligence indicated they had achieved space travel only recently." "Perhaps," Dr. Zeloth suggested, "our intelligence was wrong. The humans may have been concealing their true capabilities." "Impossible. Why would a species hide advanced technology?" Dr. Zeloth's crystalline form shifted colors as he considered the question. Perhaps because they expected hostility. Perhaps because they were preparing for war. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If the humans had been expecting hostile first contact, if they had been preparing for decades or centuries, then attacking them might have been a grave mistake. "What do you recommend?" the High Counselor asked. "I recommend we consider their warning seriously," Dr. Zeloth replied. "Based on my studies of their prisoners, humans are far more dangerous than we initially believed. If that ship was just a scout, if they have more vessels with similar capabilities." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Every Council member understood the implications, but Commander Sisek was not convinced. "They sent one ship, one, against the might of the entire Council. This is clearly a bluff." "And if it's not?" Dr. Zeloth asked. Commander Sisek's scales darkened with anger. "Then we crush them before they become a real threat. I recommend we mobilize the Grand Fleet immediately." The Council voted. By a narrow margin, they chose to reject Earth's warning. They had 71 hours to change their minds. But the Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They were not accustomed to backing down from primitive species. In deep space, the Retribution transmitted a coded message back to Earth. "Warning delivered. They're not listening. Recommend full deployment." Admiral Morrison received the message in her command center and nodded grimly. She had hoped the aliens would be smart enough to release the prisoners. Instead, they had chosen the hard way. "Signal all fleet commanders," she ordered. "Operation Homecoming is authorized. Bring our people home." Across the solar system, hundreds of ships began their final preparations for war. The Galactic Council had 71 hours to realize their mistake. After that, Earth's children were coming for them. The 72-hour deadline passed with no response from the Galactic Council. Commander Sisek stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Glory, watching the fleet formations around Nexus Prime. The Council had assembled their greatest warships, over 300 vessels representing the combined military might of 12 species. Still, no sign of human ships, his tactical officer reported. Perhaps they realized the futility of challenging us. Commander Sek's scales shifted to a satisfied golden color. Of course, one primitive frigate cannot threaten the might of the Council. The humans have learned their place. On Nexus Prime, High Counselor Thekvar received the final reports. Dr. Zeloth had completed his analysis of the human prisoners, and the results were disturbing. But with the Grand Fleet protecting the station, even the Kethvar scientists' warning seemed less urgent. "The humans possess remarkable physical capabilities," Dr. Zeloth reported to the emergency session. but they remain a single world with limited technology. The threat is manageable. In the detention levels, Colonel Sarah Chen felt something change in the station's vibrations. The alien guards seemed more relaxed, less alert. Whatever deadline they had been worried about had apparently passed without consequence. But Sarah knew better. She had seen the look in Admiral Morrison's eyes during their last briefing on Earth. Earth protected its own, and humanity never forgot its children. The first sign something was wrong came from the outer sensor platforms. Long-range scanners detected massive, faster-than-light signatures approaching from the direction of Earth. Not one ship, or 10, but hundreds. Impossible, Commander Sisek said when the reports reached his flagship. Humans don't have a fleet that large. Sir, his sensor operator called out. You need to see this. The main display activated, showing long-range sensor data. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their positions precisely coordinated. But these weren't the crude vessels the Council expected from a primitive species. The human ships were beautiful and terrible. Their hulls were black as space itself, covered in angular surfaces that scattered sensor beams. They moved with predatory grace like sharks circling prey, and there were so many of them. Fleet composition analysis, Commander Sisek demanded. Approximately 400 vessels, the tactical officer reported with disbelief, ranging from frigate class to, Sir, some of these ships are larger than our dreadnoughts. The human fleet arranged itself in attack formation with mechanical precision. At the center flew a massive vessel that dwarfed even the Council's largest ships. Across its hull, readable by all species, were the words, UES Terra's Wrath. Communications, from the human flagship, the communications officer announced. Put it through. The screen flickered. To show the bridge of the Terra's Wrath, a woman in a crisp military uniform stood at the center, her expression cold as deep space. Behind her, human officers worked at stations with calm efficiency. I am Fleet Admiral Catherine Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet, she said. You were given 72 hours to release our people. You chose to ignore our warning. Commander Sisek's scales darkened with anger. Admiral Morrison, you are outnumbered. We have 300 ships to your 400. The technological advantage remains ours. Admiral Morrison's expression didn't change. Commander Sek, you tortured our soldiers. You murdered our people. You declared yourselves our enemies. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of an entire world's fury. You have chosen extinction over honor. So be it. The transmission ended. All ships, Commander Sisek ordered. Attack formation. Destroy the human fleet. The Council ships moved forward in the traditional battle formations that had served them for centuries. Energy weapons charged, shields powered to maximum, fighters launched from carrier vessels. It was an impressive display of military might. The human fleet's response was terrifying in its efficiency. The battle began when human railguns opened fire from impossible range. Tungsten rods traveling at significant fractions of light speed slammed into Council ships before their crews even knew they were under attack. Energy shields that could stop laser beams and plasma bolts were useless against kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. 3 Council cruisers simply disintegrated as railgun slugs punched through their hulls from bow to stern. The remaining ships scattered, trying to close the distance where their energy weapons would be effective. But the humans weren't using energy weapons. They were using physics itself as a weapon. Evasive maneuvers, Commander Sisek ordered as his flagship shuddered under multiple impacts. The humans were firing continuously, their weapons recharging faster than should be possible. The Council fighters that had launched found themselves facing human pilots who flew like nothing they had ever seen. Human fighters spun and twisted through space in impossible patterns, their pilots somehow surviving acceleration forces that should have crushed them. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, now flying a combat fighter instead of piloting the Retribution, dove through a formation of Council ships at speeds that made her ancestors' atmospheric fighter pilots look slow. Behind her, Council fighters exploded as her wingman's shots found their targets with inhuman precision. How are they flying like that? A Council pilot screamed over the communications before his ship was destroyed by a human fighter that seemed to teleport behind him. The answer was simple. Humans had trained for this war in Earth's crushing gravity, with augmented reflexes and enhanced physical capabilities. They had prepared to fight enemies with superior technology by becoming superior warriors. On the Terra's Wrath, Admiral Morrison watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Status report. 30% of Council fleet destroyed or disabled, her tactical officer reported. Our losses, negligible. Continue the attack. Target their command ships. Human ships equipped with phase generators began appearing inside Council defensive formations, their weapons already firing before the aliens realized they were there. Ships that had seemed safely protected behind shields and escort vessels suddenly found human warships materializing within their defensive perimeters. The UES Vengeance, equipped with humanity's most advanced phase drive, appeared directly above Nexus Prime's defensive platforms. Its weapons spoke once, and the massive guns that protected the station became expanding clouds of debris. Impossible, Commander Sek said as his flagship's shields failed under continuous railgun bombardment. How do they have this technology? His tactical officer, bleeding from a head wound, looked up from his damaged console. Sir, I'm detecting human boarding craft. They're heading for the station. On Nexus Prime, emergency alarms screamed as human assault shuttles burned through the station's defensive barriers. The shuttles were small, fast, and completely invisible to Council. Sensors until they were all ready. Inside the docking bays, the first Council, security forces to encounter human space marines lasted approximately 30 seconds. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos led her squad through the station's corridors with ruthless efficiency. The aliens had made their defensive positions assuming they would fight other Council species. They weren't prepared for humans who moved faster, hit harder, and fought with a coordination that seemed telepathic. Targets ahead, her point man reported. Light them up, Santos ordered. The Council guards never had a chance. Human weapons designed to punch through advanced armor turned alien defensive positions into slaughter zones. The Marines moved forward like a force of nature, unstoppable and implacable. In the detention levels, Colonel Sarah Chen heard the sound of human weapons and felt hope for the first time in days. The cavalry had arrived. The door to her cell exploded inward as a human Marine in full assault armor stepped through. Behind his helmet's visor, she could see eyes that burned with righteous fury. Colonel Chen? Sergeant Martinez, 3rd Marine Division. We're here to take you home. As Sarah's restraints were cut away, she saw other Marines freeing her soldiers. Rodriguez, despite his injuries, managed to salute. Dr. Martinez looked dazed but alive. They were all alive. Casualties? Sarah asked. We've accounted for all personnel, ma'am. Time to go. The Marines formed a protective escort as they moved through the station. Behind them, fires burned and alarms wailed. The mighty Nexus Prime, symbol of Council power, was being systematically destroyed by human forces. In his laboratory, Dr. Zeloth watched in horror as his research was consumed by flames. Years of work on human physiology, all the data about this remarkable species was being destroyed. But as he watched human soldiers move through the station with deadly grace, he realized his research had been incomplete. He had studied human bodies and minds, but he had failed to understand the human soul. These were not just superior physical specimens. They were warriors from a death world who had come to rescue their family. Nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The evacuation took less than an hour. Human forces extracted their people and withdrew, leaving Nexus Prime burning behind them. The station that had stood for 1,000 years was now a gutted wreck, its power systems failing and its hull breached in dozens of places. In space, the Council fleet was in full retreat. Half their ships were destroyed or disabled, the rest fleeing toward their home systems.